All righty. I hope y'all are doing okay this morning. Um, so, do you all, since a lot of what we do in this class are interviews, be it for individual stories or what we're starting to do here with our talk shows, do either of you two know what all the buzz is right now about one of the biggest interviews that was just done Sunday evening?
No, I do not.
Okay, Susie?
No.
Okay. Let me ask you this. I discovered this with my middle school kids um, from the news values quiz, and no one in your age group brought this up, but the middle school kids did. And even though they're like 8th grade, I was still surprised they didn't know who she was, but because she's just always been so huge. But maybe because she doesn't have her 5-day week show anymore, people forgotten. Do y'all know who Oprah is?
Yes.
Okay. Susie, do you know who Oprah is?
I've heard about her, but I don't know who exactly she is.
Okay. So I need to take that that quiz question off that news values quiz if I use it again next year. So Oprah Winfrey, she started from very, very humble beginnings. She was she was poor, and she did some acting. Then she was on, local television like I was. And then I'd have to look up the exact date, but I would say early 80s. It was when I was growing up. She got the Oprah Winfrey Show. And while there were daytime talk shows before her, they were largely all men. Phil Donahue, Merv Griffin were big names back in the day. But she pretty much was very groundbreaking in daytime talk shows, especially with women. I mean, she paved the way for Ellen, and then all the other people who've done these talk shows since. And she has a real gift at interviewing. Susie, what you might recognize her for now, she retired from her the Oprah show that was on mainstream TV. She has her own network now called OWN that's on like cable, I think by subscription. She has her magazine, O Magazine. She's the spokesperson for Weight Watchers. I mean, she still does a ton of things. She opened up, I think it was in Africa, she opened up an all-girls school to help young women, young girls become young women in other countries. She does lots of wonderful volunteer type things with that because she has lots of money, and she's very generous with that to help other people. So she did, and it was I didn't really realize that because I hadn't been watching TV, excuse me, much lately. So I didn't realize all the pre-show hype. I saw one person make a comment on Facebook, like, I'm not getting into all the pre-show royal hype. So I figured there was an interview. I didn't know who it was with, but it aired Sunday primetime during a 2-hour slot. And so everybody, it's like the talk of, social media and the internet, yesterday, the day after. So I wanted to show you all, let's see here, let's go to, I'm going to share my screen because, again, she has been doing this a long time. And so she interviewed Harry and Meghan Markle. Of course, Meghan Markle, the American actress who married Prince Harry, a royal. So he really kind of bucked tradition with the Queen of England. That's his grandma. And they ended up moving to the United States, and which was a huge controversy that, when you're born into royalty, you do the royal duties. And they she's biracial. And so the interview, apparently, I haven't watched it yet. I was just kind of catching up on all the hype yesterday. So I plan to watch it. And it's a shame. I was going to try to show some clips this morning, but for some reason it's blocked here at school, which doesn't make sense because it's on CBS News. So that doesn't really make any sense, but whatever. But I wanted to show you because I thought this was really interesting. So the title of this is 7 Media, that's us, 7 Media Lessons from Harry and Meghan's Interview with Oprah. And again, she has been doing this a long time. But look at this. More than 17 million people watched the interview Sunday night. And then millions more have watched it streaming online. So that's unbelievable numbers. So here's what they kind of recap media lessons from Oprah. So they of course hyped it that there's going to be the interview. But this is a good lesson. Don't give it all away ahead of time. So you want to basically tease people. You want to be like, you can show little preview clips, but you don't want to give away what we would call the big stuff. And so you'll tease it, but you want to give people just enough information that they want to watch. And then you do the bombshell information. And in their case, it's that they felt that Meghan Markle was treated differently, by the royal family because she's biracial and just not treated real nicely. And they have a son, they have another baby on the way, and they just wanted to raise their family out of all that. This is dating really back. So if you ever follow the royals, Princess Diana, she was often referred to as Princess Di, and she was also called the People's Princess, and that is Harry's mother, and she was hounded by the paparazzi, and she died in the late, I always gauge everything by where I was, so late, around 96 or 97 in Paris. She divorced, which was another huge deal. She divorced Prince Charles, who is Harry's father, and she was dating this man, and they were being hounded and chased high speed by paparazzi, wanting to get her picture, and had a horrific car accident in this tunnel in Paris. It killed her, the driver, this guard that was with them, and her boyfriend, and it was just horrific. And Harry, who you see in this, he was just a little boy, probably 6 years old. So at any rate, tease people, but don't give away the whole story or interview, whatever media production you're making. And then let it breathe. This is, and I've mentioned this a bit, that when you're interviewing someone, don't feel rushed. Don't feel like, okay, I kind of know the questions I'm going to ask, on to the next one. And when we say let it breathe, let the people talk. And sometimes there are going to be pauses. But if you can tell they're thinking, don't interrupt them. Let it, because sometimes they're composing a thought, and then they're going to give you something really good. So she had commented, this was a 3-hour, can you imagine? 3-hour interview. And then they had to edit it down for TV to fit a 2-hour slot. But remember, within a 2-hour slot, there are commercials. So I think they said the interview ended up being 1 hour and 26 minutes. So let's see what that question here. Yeah, I mean, can you imagine? I mean, I'm sure they at some point were like, hey, you need a bathroom break, but 3 hours she sat down. Now, think about just when we've done what little we've done here, when you try to come up with questions, to talk to someone, sometimes it's hard just to come up with a few, but can you generate a conversation for 3 hours? Now, again, that's why Oprah, she's the best. She's been doing this a long, long time. But when you allow just a conversation to happen, you'll find, and they had a lot to talk about. too. So again, that gets back to choosing who you're going to interview, choose who your stories are going to be about, because you want to have the right people and subject to work with. So let it breathe. Don't feel rushed. And that's what she did. She did a 3-hour interview, which is just mind boggling. And then this is, I talk about this all the time, follow up questions. Sure. Oprah went in knowing what she wanted to talk about, right? But she's listening to what, I mean, she's being that active listener, listening to what they say, and then coming up with follow, because she doesn't know all the answers, of course. It's not her life that they've lived. So she's not going to know, she might have a sense, but she's not going to know everything they're going to answer. And so by listening, that enables her to follow up with more questions. And sometimes it means what they say here, circling back around. If you feel people are going on in one direction and you don't want to stop that flow, you make a mental note, I need to go back to that other thing they mentioned and circle back around to it. So that's another technique. Leave something on the cutting room floor, meaning, you know, they edited down a 3-hour interview, but they, and again, this is the beauty of, you know, being at her level and at the networks. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. That, you know, they on CBS this morning, like today, they showed another little clip. She can do it. So like when we're back in the studio, if we have a recurring, you know, a recurring segment and we do something cool, but we want to, and it's a big hit, we can save some, be like, and, you know, tune in next week, we're going to have more on yada, yada, and you include it there. This is just kind of talking about the, you know, the business in general, that, you know, we've seen so much like news programming kind of go by the wayside for more of this reality TV. But this is just making a comment that, you know, when you've got the right stuff, the right subject matter, the right person doing the show, content, that traditional TV still, there's still a place for that. This is, I just was mentioning Princess Diana. His mother had done a kind of a tell-all interview as well back in the day. And then just the ability now that we have streaming. So, you know, if you missed it, you can go back and watch it. So that's another kind of bonus of today's media landscape, is that, you know, back in the day, like I missed it on Sunday. Back in the day, if you missed it, you missed it. There was no on-demand TV. You all have grown up with, you know, streaming. You can find it on YouTube, or on demand. You can go back and find it on demand. When I was growing up, you know, if I didn't watch it on Sunday, that's it. I missed it. So you see now with the media landscape that we have, there's an ability to do. Yeah, isn't that crazy to think of now, Susie? You know, if you didn't get home at, you know, 7 o'clock to watch it, too bad. Or if you got home at 7:30, you missed the first half hour. So that's just was the way it was. We didn't have all these technological capabilities. And so that's kind of neat, because as I said, I didn't realize it was airing Sunday, and I was just kind of last night catching up on all the hype. And, but you know, now I know I can go look it up and watch it streaming. I'm so sorry, you all, to keep yawning. Okay, so I do want to show you this short clip here. This was this morning or yesterday morning, I forget. No, yesterday morning. Just this real short, and it was Oprah was on the CBS morning show. So one of the morning shows that's on 5 days a week, and where she just talks about kind of recapping the interview. And again, a good interviewer, as I said, she's going to go in knowing her questions. If you're doing a good interview, you know, you do your background research, as we talk about. Know a little something about who you're getting ready to interview. But if you're being a great listener, and this is in life with your friends, when you have careers, being a great listener, you're going to learn from other people. And, you know, there's a lot of value in that. So take a listen. Can you all hear that? The audio sounds weird on my, is that coming through on your, can you hear?
Let's pick it up right where we left off before the commercial break.
Do y'all hear
It's
that?
just really quiet.
Yeah, it's quiet on, you know what I'm going to try here? I think I know what might be causing that. Let me do this. I've got it on another screen. Let's see what that does. Okay. I'm going to stop it and then I'm going to start it again. For some reason, when I do that double screen over there, let's see with this.
Where Harry wants to make it.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know why it does that. When I plug in the monitor and put stuff over there, it pipes it through there. I know. Anyway, okay, here we go.
Very clear, it seems, that he did not blindside the Queen. We left, I don't know if you could hear it, with a bite where you said, doesn't the Queen get to do what the Queen wants to do? He had made several attempts to see his grandmother.
Yes, and I think that was such an important story to be shared last night. In the process of trying to edit this 3 hours and 20 minutes down to 1 hour and 25 minutes, I'd said to my team, the most important question to be answered here at the end of this show will be, why did they leave? And I think the stories about being blindsided, blindsiding the Queen were very, very damaging to them and also hurtful because they understood very clearly that there had been months and months of preparation before they actually moved to Canada. And truthfully, there was a statement by the Queen, Her Majesty the Queen, on January 18th, in which she said, following many months of conversations and more recent discussions, I am pleased that together we have found constructive and supportive way forward for my grandson and his family. So the Queen on January 18th actually said that there'd been months of conversation, but in spite of that, there were still all of those stories about blindsiding the Queen, blindsiding.
That's why the details
so
are
I'm very
important.
happy that
That is why the details are
That's why
important.
the
because
details
the tabloids print stuff that they know is false and have been told isn't true.
But Oprah, it's
That's
also
right.
the question remains why the Queen cannot dictate who she sees and when she sees them, and it seems to come back to something that Meghan pointed out early, that there's the family and then there's the institution, and you were constantly trying to probe the difference between the two. What did you take away from that?
I took away from that there are, as Harry just indicated, there are people surrounding the family who are advisors to the family who have been there for a long time, and that's a part of the hierarchical structure, and those people have a lot of influence and also input.
You get it. I mean, you mentioned last night, Oprah, that you watch The Crown. I do too. You get a sense of that in The Crown, that actually there is almost kind of like a deep state within the monarchy that actually runs the monarchy. But I wanted to ask you, we had Tina Brown on earlier, who said that this interview is like kryptonite for the royal family. And I'm sure Harry and Meghan, when they agreed to have this conversation with you, knew it was not going to make their relationship with the royal family any easier. Why do you think they agreed to do it?
Oh, I think they agreed to do it, wanted to do it, were ready to do it, because when you have been lied about for a series of years, I think anybody, you can understand this if in your own office or in your own family, somebody is saying things about you that are not true, and how hurtful that is. Or if you're online and you read the comments from something that somebody has said about you, and you continue to see those comments, how hurtful that is. So imagine that for over a period of months and years, and you know that it isn't true. I think the most important thing for them, before I do any interview, I have a conversation with whoever I'm interviewing and ask, tell me what your intention is, and I will tell you what my intention is, and let's see if we can align those two, because I don't want you to finish an interview and at the end of the interview say, I wish I had said. And
But Oprah, let's talk
I
about
texted.
let's talk about the jaw-dropping moment, the first one, about the color of the baby's skin. And you asked Harry about it when he came out. He did not tell you who it was. Did you all have another conversation about it? Because that was something that there's a big guessing game all around the world. Who was it? Who was it? Who was it? And I thought it was very touching that Harry still is choosing to protect the identity of whoever that was.
Yes, and he did not share the identity with me, but he wanted to make sure that I knew, and if I had an opportunity to share it, that it was not his grandmother nor his grandfather that were a part of those conversations.
That it was not his grandmother and Prince Philip, he said?
Yeah,
Was
and
not
his
a part.
grandfather. Neither his grandmother nor grandfather were a part of those conversations. He did
Okay.
not tell me who were a part of those conversations.
Right.
As you can see, I tried to get that answer
Yeah.
on camera and off.
All right, Oprah, stay with us. You have more never before seen clips for us, including Meghan talking about her own family.
Okay, so I think what I love, another takeaway from her, again, she's the best of the best. I like that she said when she sits down to interview someone, she's up front. Here are my intentions of what I want to get out of this interview. What are your intentions? And I like that because as a interviewer, she definitely goes in with what she wants in her mind, what she wants to get out of that interview. But so does this couple. Another thing that I really liked, and this kind of ties into what I say from day one as well in this class, is that all of us are bound by the stories we tell. Sure, this is a wealthy couple that, you know, Harry is royalty, which is its whole other stuff that comes with that. But they relate, because so you might think, why would I want to watch that? What do I have in common with them? I don't have anything in common with them. You know, especially Harry, he's royalty. She married into royalty. But you know, I'm just an average American. What do I have in common with them? But what did she do? What did y'all pick up on? What she explained that she did to make that connection? Did either of y'all pick up on that?
She didn't call them by their royal titles. Same with the Queen, was trying to make the familiar connections and compare the dynamic to a family instead of emphasizing that they're royals.
Perfect. Yes. And I mean, when she did that, I'm like, wow, some people are just going to watch because people are fascinated with the royal family. That's why there's the show The Crown on Netflix right now. Like, people are fascinated by the royals. So you've got your royal watchers who will just, if it's royalty, they'll watch it. But for the rest of us who may not be interested in it, she made a wonderful connection where even though they're royalty, that she said, I think we all can relate to that feeling that, you know, either at work or within your own family or a circle of friends, that sometimes you might feel like you're being talked about or feel like you're not liked or feel unwanted. And so she made that connection. So yes, theirs is in the context of this different lifestyle worlds away, but she made that connection that we all can be like, you know what, I know, yeah, I've been there, I've done that, I know what that feels. Wow, that must be even more pressure when you feel that way in that family and you've got all the international media staring at every move you make. But she made them relatable. She made them relatable to the viewer and connecting. We can connect with them on that level, if not anything else. So I think that's a real talent as well, is to find those connections that we all, because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We're all people. And regardless of where we come from, socioeconomic or anything, we're all people at the end of the day. She, if you have a chance, I'm gonna go try to watch some of it myself. But if you have a chance, I just wanted to call your attention to it. And because again, this is going to be one of those things. The ratings on this 17 million viewers is going to be hard to beat. That's huge. So just from a pure media landscape, audience attraction, again, looking for the type of people and stories that your audience will be interested in, making those connections. And then just the tips of, if you have the opportunity to go back and watch it, just watch her style, watch how she listens, watch how she just lets it breathe. And then another talking point, I think, and actually, if you listened, sounds like they ended up cutting down 2 hours, because she said it was a 3-hour and 20-minute interview that they cut it down to 1 hour and 25 minutes, I think she said. So they cut out 2 hours worth of content. So can you imagine having to edit out that much? However, now obviously we're never, in what we do here, we're never going to shoot anything that long. But when we do things, and depending upon when we get y'all back in here, it'll kind of dictate what additional video assignments you all will have. We'll get some in. It's just been kind of harder with this distance learning, but that's why I always say overshoot, because what if she had 1 hour and 26 minutes to fill, but she only shot 1 hour and 30 minutes worth of interview? Well, she's got to use every single thing she shot, cut out 4 minutes. And what if all of it's not super exciting? So always overshoot, not 3 hours, but if you're doing a 1:30 story, you might want to get 10, 15 minutes worth of content. Because the more you have, the more choices you have, the better it's going to be. And I see it all the time. If I give a 1:30 project and people shoot 1:45, and they have like barely any B-roll to cover the story, not enough interview sound. So I think that's obviously extreme with 3 hours, but it goes to show you that they had a lot to work with. And sure, did it maybe make it harder? Because I've been there where I've had such good stories and all my sound was good. I'm like, oh my gosh, sometimes it made it harder. Because I'm like, all my sound is good. I want to use all of it. But I had time restrictions I had to follow. And so then I had to pick the best of the best, where sometimes I didn't have much to use. And I just, and sometimes those were easier because I'm like, well, this story ain't going to be the greatest, but I didn't get much, and use what I have and call it a day. So always keep that in mind. Just even when you think you have enough, get a little bit more. Use that as a rule of thumb. So any other questions about the interview process? And again, when we do our podcast Thursday, those are good lessons to keep in mind for that. That just, first and foremost, listen. When people are talking, listen, jump in, follow up, ask your own questions, and keep that conversation going. I attempted to do a podcast with my middle school kids yesterday, and they were just silent. So it was, I think part of it might be their age. They're a little hesitant to turn their microphones on, but I'm not going to be able to edit anything because it was silent. So. But always keep that conversation going. So any other questions before we wrap it up?